Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Behind Black Business, sponsored by our organization, Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities. And we were very happy to find out that we would be able to have Ras Sekou Tafari with us tonight. Sekou, thank you so much for coming. I know you're very busy right now through here, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. As you know, family, we are a nonprofit organization. We're a small group, and we're working to make a contribution to our community. We want dollars to circulate in our community, and they need to because resources are not distributed fairly in the Black community here in Chicago. And so to do this, as we explain to you every week, we are uplifting our businesses, our Black-owned businesses, because our Black-owned businesses are inherently going to help the Black community. They're going to be able to give back because we're hiring Black people. They are making contributions to Black causes. They're giving other Black businesses an opportunity by using their services and giving them entrepreneurial opportunities in their businesses, and ultimately also providing role models for our children. Our children at very young ages are very impressionable, and when they see us owning businesses, it is inspiring. Usually, if it's something that you have always dreamed of doing, it's possibly because you saw someone else doing it. And many of our businesses are owned by individuals whose parents passed that legacy on to them. So we have to support our businesses because they're going to circulate the dollars, just like if we look at our history, places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Roseland, and many other places that are even unknown were able to thrive and grow and flourish the way they did because of the continuity of what was going on. And so that's very important to us. And we support our bookstores. We put our bookstores on our front page of our website. Every month we put another bookstore up because our Black bookstores are very important. And that's why we have Frontline here tonight. This is where our history is. This is where our information is. We have many people who are authoring books. And of course, you have them on Amazon, but you have to also put them in our Black bookstores who have a brick and mortar and online presence for the very reasons that I just gave to you now. So many of you who are authoring books, we here in Chicago, I believe, have more Black-owned bookstores than any other city. And so we want you to support them. And tonight we're pushing and giving a lot of support and praise to Frontline. Also, our bookstore for this month is Afriware. And Afriware is located in Maywood, but Afriware does a lot of work here in the Chicago area. And they're located at 1701 South First Avenue in Maywood, Suite 400. And we ask that you support Afriware Bookstore. The proprietor is in Zinga, and she's a very beautiful person. And we do continue to sponsor a book giveaway. Whoever is the bookstore of the month, they get to select a book, and we purchase the book and send that book at our expense to one of our subscribers. So our book of the month is Dick Gregory's Natural Diet for Folks Who Eat, Cooking with Mother Nature. And if you know anything about Dick Gregory and all of the work that he has done in our community as a author, as an actor, as an activist, as an organizer, he marched with Martin Luther King. He organized marches against the treatment of the Native Americans. He has been a great person in our community. And so this book is a reflection of his view about how we should be eating. And this is by Dick Gregory. And so all you have to do is go to rrgbc.org and subscribe. We also are continuing to gather signatures for our petition where we want our local libraries and our local schools to give contracts to our Black-owned bookstores. This happens in many other communities, so there is no excuse for this not happening. And you can go to our website at rrgbc.org or Save Black Bookstores in Chicago at change.org and sign the petition. And we're asking for your support with that. And lastly, we always mention the Southside Community Federal Credit Union at 55th and Wentworth. They are a Black-owned credit union. They are a Black-owned banking and financial institution. And in order to uplift them, we have to open up accounts. This is how banks create money. And we put our dollars in so many banks who maybe aren't willing to give our people loans and our businesses the types of resources that they need. And so that's why we are definitely giving support and asking you to support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union. So those are some things that we wanted to mention tonight. Our event that we had on September the 17th, we're very happy with the outcome of that, where we're pushing Black literacy. And one of the reasons that I asked Brother Sekou to come on tonight is to talk to us about Frontline and where Frontline is going. And so a lot of people are asking questions about Frontline, and I figured the best person to talk about that and explain that would be the proprietor of Frontline Bookstore, and that's Sekou Tafari. So Sekou, I'd like to, you have a new location, and you have a book club, a global book club out here. So I would like for you to start wherever you would like to, as far as imparting information and what you want the family to know, what's going on with Frontline right now.
Well, at the moment, we have moved to 609A Howard Street, but the opposite side is still Chicago. So we have moved, and in fact, I'm at the store right now, but we're still trying to put things together. But we won't have things together properly until in the next couple of weeks before we basically, and so this is where we would be, and we're looking forward to the challenge, and also being on the north side. Is a location we had, but it was not, didn't have it open. So we have decided to put up in this location for the immediate time until we could return to the south side. But Evanston, we're looking forward to doing some work here, and the whole idea of literacy on the north side and in the Evanston. So we are at 609A Howard Street in Evanston.
Okay. And how soon, or what's the latest point that you think that you would be reopening?
We will towards the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, to have we, we all going with push for it, to get a space open. I myself deal with a little, you know, eye surgery, so that has kind of fulfillment of the task of getting the space together. But these 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully to
At least
have the
2 to
space
3.
up and running properly. We have a lot of stuff that we move up here, but how we got to organize the space, so it could be very much nice and easy to maneuver when our customer come. So that we could you can still find us online on the Frontline website. We so we still available. And we also have what we call the Frontline Global Forum or Book Forum, or the Frontline Global Book Club, which is open with the help of friends here in Chicago, including Denise and Vince Walker and Janet, other people across here and in other parts of the globe. We had 2 sessions so far, and they were very well had a lot of support. So we're gonna have another forum on Sunday, the 16th, and we continue the philosophy, the we call it Lessons for African People, also as message to the people. Is the last course of what do you call it, the course of African philosophy that Gavi taught in Halifax, Canada.
Okay.
So this is that we are now directing.
Okay. Well, this is the beautiful thing about having a brick and mortar bookstore, is because you are going to, again, reach out to the community. And this book club that you have is really awesome, because you're reaching out not only to people here in Chicago, but you have an international presence. So where are many of the people coming from that are participating?
Well, we have people as far on the first one we had. I think that was held on the Thursday, the 1st of September, the first book club, book forum, and we had people from Ghana, we had Jamaica, we had people from Islands, and St. Lucia, and the hemisphere. We had people who were participating and so on. The second one we had Jamaica, and the different parts of the US as well, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once we get it, we're gonna have a very much good representation. And there's a global book forum, so we're gonna have people participating from all parts of wherever you have African people, Black people, and so on. You have academics and and regular people and so on participating in it. And the first
there
book we
are
have been using, as I said, yes.
Yes, there are a number of when we had our last event over in Avalon Park, we were emphasizing book clubs, and there are a number of book clubs, here in the area, surprisingly, a lot of people are coming together, whether it's family, friends, and there some of the bookstores are kind of pushing, book clubs a little bit, but it gives an opportunity for people to come together and to have discussions, about different topics. And so you chose a global book club, which I thought was a great idea. And why did you choose to go globally and not just a local book club?
Because Frontline is a global organization. Because Frontline is not just when we first started operating on the north side, then when we moved to 75th Street, 17 years ago, we moved to Hyde Park area and to continue to be at that location. We've been the fourth store to be at that location there, starting off with Freedom Found, 34 years, followed by Reading Room, and then finally Frontline. But Frontline is not only a bookstore per se, it's also publishing house. And it's a publishing house whose books goes all over the hemisphere, only across North America, but also goes to other parts. And I forgot to mention that we had people at the first book club, book forum as Birmingham, England, as well. So with this global entity, we publish books such as Life in Ethiopia Progress, both Volume 1 and Volume 2, The Life of Haile Selassie, both hardback and paperback. And we got basically from Oxford University Press and Michigan State University. Those books not only read all over the world, know about the country Ethiopia, which had never been conquered in the colonial period. So it's global. So we have books published by Philosophers Garvey. We have books like The Mission, The Reign and Life of. We have books. So we go as far. We have local authors, Sister Dr. Asantiwa, who edited the book Eternity of the African. We have over 100 titles that we have published. Authors and some authors in different parts of the world. So we are a global organization, and therefore we thought it is important that we can people globally in throughout the diaspora.
Okay, so the book club, the first book that you started out with was Marcus Garvey's book, and you've gone through the first two chapters. And I know that first chapter, Marcus Garvey talked about why we should be reading and the importance of reading.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that discussion, or what types of thoughts came out of that discussion around Marcus Garvey's chapter?
That was a very important chapter, the first chapter, as all the chapters are. I want to emphasize is that this piece, Lessons for Africa, I edited this particular edition. And why it is so important that after Garvey was deported to America, after being held and for trump-up charges, and was detained and sent back home to Jamaica, where his land was born in 1925, 1927. decided to call together all the best cadres, UNIA/ACL. UNIA means the United Nation, and the African Community League, ACL. So he did
Mm-hmm.
his best comrades, his best cadres that were in leadership and so on, from Gary, Indiana, to Newark, New Jersey, to all over the world, and probably even different parts of the world, like Liberia, and Belize, and so on. And he brought them together in this space since he could to the U.S. since he was deported, and he called them together in a place called Halifax, um, in Canada. Yes, in September of 1937, he called together and he had where he taught all his best leadership the this course. So they could go out and to the world about what Garvey was about, and what the course of African philosophy to train other young people. Here it is, 85 years after, we are still studying this course that Garvey taught in 1937 in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And one of the important things also there is that Nova Scotia is a place you have Africans who left America and went to Nova Scotia after they fought in the war in behalf of the British, and they were given freedom status to move to Nova Scotia. So one of the reasons why we chose that book, preparation for all the people on a leadership position inside. It was the people inside of the UNIA, the best, the leadership, and about the importance of reading, right? The importance of reading, because the reader, the person who reads, important. You could by Malcolm X. I'm it's like Malcolm X is speaking to me when I'm reading which I read back in the 60s. It empowered me as a young. It gave me that power to be in Malcolm X's shoes, what he was about. So when you're reading something like you're reading about Garvey, you could, as Garvey, you could envision yourself in terms of how he on and how you reflect on things. So the importance of reading opens up your scope, your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the first things you realize when they're going to countries, right? Example, when which people call Egypt, when people like Alexander call him the Great, or you should call him Alexander the Thief. But however, when Kemet, one of the first things he did was the Truberries, or what people call libraries. But there's no lies in there because there's manuscripts giving us our history and and so on. So one of the first Timbuktu, they raid the libraries or the Truberries. They're going to so on, Nubia. They go into these places to take the manuscripts and so on, and that is what the organizers. That is what they do. They come in and they invade and they raid. Books are, how we know about what took place in Kemet, what we in Timbuktu, in Mali, and so on. Books that is available to us, manuscripts that go back to 5,000. We could go and read these manuscripts, whether it's in French, whether it's in Spanish, and then we could know what took place historically, with our world. So reading is a crucial piece, and that is how we empower ourselves.
Well, one of the things I know from reading that chapter, he emphasized reading everything. It's like we go to school, we learn math, we learn
Yes,
science, we learn
yes,
history,
yes,
you learn writing. And so when
yes,
people seem to feel that once you finish school, you're done with that, but that's only the beginning. It's like going to school and you learn, to read, and you learn about all of these subject matters. It is
yeah,
teaching you, that these are different lessons and
yeah,
areas that you need to learn about, and it's a lifelong learning.
yes.
And so he
And saying
mentioned
that
in there
anything you
to read about.
do, we must
Mhm.
we must read, right? If you're doing math formulas, to understand the formulas, so you have to read, right? Anything you're doing, important part of knowing about the subject matter in what you are studying. So reading is a crucial thing in terms of understand whatever scope you are, or feel of it you are looking at.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's just like even if you go into a profession, you have to continue, they call it continuing education, but you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to study. And as you do that, you continue to evolve and create. And so this whole issue around reading, it is so important. And for you to start a global book club, it's bringing different perspectives to the whole discussion around whatever the topic is. And I think that that's important too, Sekou, because we have here in America, we have, Black people here. We have people from the Caribbean, we have our African American here. We have people from Africa, we have Black people from all over the world. And there's often a disconnect because there's a misunderstanding about who we all really are. We don't understand what we need to understand. And so I think in having this global book club, it gives an opportunity for us to learn and get to know one another and understand what we share, you know, as a people in this on this planet, because the discrimination against Black people is all over the world. It's everywhere you go. And I think we need to, and I think sometimes when I hear people from other countries that come here, they're told certain things about African Americans. And so some people come here with certain attitudes, and it causes frictions. So I think this is a beautiful opportunity for us to come together and, talk about what we share, what we have in common, and to also enlighten ourselves about each other.
Yeah, it's a very important thing. Those of us who come here into North America, um, we have more to share together, more similarities than we part. When
Mhm.
you look that, we all were coming from the Caribbean, we all were enslaved as a people. We all were colonies of England. And, we look at, those people, whether it's New Orleans, whether it's Mississippi, and so on. We all share similarities. right? We share in one kinfolk who experience the right and forced labor and for over 400 over forced labor, right? Similar tactics being used in Jamaica and Guyana and Trinidad and so on. Similar tactics was used here in the South, right? Probably we were growing, our ancestors were growing things like cotton and what do you call it? Well, cotton in Guyana, you had people growing cotton, you have sugar cane, you had tobacco and so on. It was happening here in the South, right? And then we were like, one look at it, we may have come on different ships, but at the end of the day, we end up in the same boat now. When my ancestor came, forcibly removed out of Africa and brought to the Caribbean, what happened is sometimes it took or my great aunt, and they would separate them, and sometimes they would send one goes to Jamaica, goes to New Orleans, one goes to Alabama, one goes to Florida. Have blood ties, one way or the other. We all have the same people, and when you look at the foods that we share and the food that we eat, there's a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities. More similarities than people.
Absolutely. And having here in the Caribbean, or whether it's in Africa, of course, in the Caribbean and then here in America, we had to deal with the ills of slavery, where you talk about families being separated, the traumas of that whole experience we share. And then when we go to Africa and we look at all of our Black countries, there's the colonization, there's the usage of resources that are there on those lands, and so and we experience it, we continue to experience it here, which is why this organization started, because of unfair distribution of resources in our community. And then when you go to the Caribbean, you see, unfair distribution of the resources there in that land. And you see the same thing when you go to the continent. And
And
so
that's why we
that's
ask the question. We don't know which one was worse, colonization or slavery.
mhm,
Because yes, brothers and our brothers and sisters and on the African continent there, but they were colonized and were colonies of, whether they were colonies of Portugal, whether they were Portuguese colonies of Italy and so on. And we have similarities in the Caribbean, where you had of France. France had Martinique, Guadeloupe, also called Cayenne, and so on. So you had the similarities. You had the similarities here, where the French had control places like New Orleans, as far as Florida and so on. So you had even like when you go to Canada, or the colony of France. So
mhm,
you look at the whole thing. Even in the Caribbean, you have Dutch Guyana, which is on. You had what was called British Guyana, which is now Guyana, which is controlled by the. So you have all these similarities in terms of even today, even when we front states, that make up the America, the United States. These are all colonies. At the end of the day, they were all colonies. Whether it be Chicago, whether it be New York, they all were at one point in time that make up these colonies, that make up what they call the total whole, what we know America.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what is weakens us is our divisions. You know, that's been a major conversation that different authors, you know, have written about the divisions amongst us, which is something that was done during slavery, but then we can expand it out even more to where we have the different divisions between the African American and the African and the Caribbean people.
Yeah, well, these divisions are really are really is a minor contradictions, I would say, because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, when you look at these minor contradictions that we have, and they are those who continue to colonialize us, and even in the state of neo-colonialism, because the new form of colonialism is a new form, even though um, our great grandparents and great grandparents slaves, and we now feel that we are free. We are not free because we are what
Mm-hmm.
we are industrial slavery. We are industrial slaves. We are slaves to the wage, to our salary. At the end of the day, right? Most people who are paid or a good salary, what you supposedly call a good wage or a good salary, at the end of the day, what is a good wage? Because when our foreparents were enslaved and and or even say enslaved because they were basically captured and they were prisoners of war. They were not really enslaved because if they come to my home where I was and they capture me, right, forcibly and put boat Jesus, Jesus, which was a slave ship, and bring me and my family to the Caribbean or to North America and so on. That is not being imprisoned. That is being captured. That is being kidnapped. That is my foreparents were not only just enslaved, they were kidnapped. They were prisoners of that were forcibly be removed from their land of birth. Or
Mm-hmm.
that's why Marcus Garvey rightfully says, "Are you going to give up a continent for an island?" And that is a pertinent question, right? So when we fight and say we're fighting for Jamaica and we're fighting for to be I'm from Chicago and so on, we are just fighting for a whole rich continent. We have a whole rich continent. When you look at the of England, right, Elizabeth II, when you look at her crown that she wears, all those things on that crown, right, all those things were captured and stolen. The what she ride on that and the carriage that she rides on, that the weight of the gold on that carriage, England don't have gold, so all that gold. So
Mm-hmm.
we were colonialized, right? And
Mm-hmm.
today we are colonialism, as Kwame Nkrumah rightfully said, in Africa must unite. He said they come to Africa or the Caribbean, they take your and these countries, the next thing you know, your cocoa, they buy your cocoa for little or nothing back to places like France and England, and then your cocoa comes back as Cadbury, comes back in a different form, and you know pay more money for this refined process. You also creating employment for in these in these in these countries, right? And while your country, Jamaica and Trinidad and Ghana and so on, remain poor. So
Mm-hmm.
we must look at these factors to know we are still slaves. We may not be chattel slaves, but we are in the wage slaves. We are salary slaves at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that leads me to your second discussion in Marcus Garvey's book, which was about leadership. Can you give us a summary of what evolved out of that discussion?
Yes, of course. Well, Garvey leadership. That you must, when you're a leader, you must set an example to your community. You must, if you go into a community, you must look in that community. The people must know who you are. You must introduce yourself to the rest, and you must take care of yourself in a particular kind of way, as into how you present yourself to the people, right, and the people who are in that community, right. So that means you set an example. Because the best follower, right. You must not take on things that going to create and disrupt you in a bad light and a bad way. That means you set an example by the way how you present yourself, how you participate in things, involved in the community from in all levels, whether in all spheres, whether it be political, whether it be civic, in whatever aspect, sports, participate and be part of the community, because the best leader is also the best follower.
Well, we have many leaders out here today. And I can speak in terms of the leadership here in the Black community here in America. We have a lot of political leaders, we have religious leaders, and leaders of various organizations. And this is a conversation that continues to come back. Look at the condition of our communities here. And especially look at the violence that we're experiencing in our communities here. That has something to do, that speaks to the type of leadership that we have, the people that we're listening to, the people that we're following, the people, that we're voting for, and putting into various leadership positions. So there is some problem there, in terms of leadership. And I
With
can
what
speak to here in
we have in our
America, and also
communities now.
before you take over here, when I look at leadership in some of our other countries, like in Africa and in the Caribbean. So there's a problem there with leadership.
Well, there's a problem within our communities, whether it be here in North America, whether it be just in our small communities that we are part of, whether it be in the schools, whether it be in the churches, wherever they are, where we are, and their leadership positions. What we don't have is people, and that's what Garvey was talking about in terms of leadership, right? We have people but they lead us to fulfill their own mission, right? That means I'm a political, and I have had political office thrust upon me by the masses of people. But when I look out for the community, I look out for my pocket, I look out for my friends, I look out for my, So the people like when you got people get money, if you're not part of their political or you're not part of that elite, right? You are not going to get, right. The people who are the congressman, you will not even see them for the next 4 years for election again, right? The people in the church leaders, you know what is it? What the masses of people need, right? We notice that, right? How many people United Front, and we give support for them, right? Because they came up, right? And we were seeking help, and they made a contribution to Frontline, right? Look at your supporting, giving support in every form, in every way, right? That is leadership. The leaders we have are corrupted, right? They are tainted by corruption. If you want it, you have to grease their hand. If you're not going to vote, if they don't feel you voting for them, they're not going to give you any support. The people in economics who have what you call these black and that's supposed to help black businesses and so on, they get the money and the black organization that really need and black businesses that really need the money, they give their fee and that is what we call corruption. What we look at and they say, okay, people in Africa, in Africa is corrupted, the political leadership in the Caribbean is corrupted, but nowhere on the planet is America, right? When they talk about corruption, even among our own leadership, right? They, economically, politically, civically, in the church, these are very much corrupted. So they are going against the grain of what God taught. That example. You have to set the example of leadership. You must, you must be honest. You must not be corrupted. You have to of being there with your fellow men and women and children to guide them. And you must be in that leadership to show that you by corruption. And most of our leaders in this community, whether they be congressmen, they're all corrupted.
So how would you define corruption in this situation, in this environment that we're talking about?
Corruption comes in many forms. If you is responsible for collecting money and you receive money from the to share with businesses in the community, and you only going to give community who you are friends with because they support you, that is corruption. You do not support organizations that even though they don't support you, right? They may not even go out and vote. Doesn't matter if they vote for you or don't vote for you. You must support and give. It must not be tainted. You must find out who need money, who need the support, who need the bill, who want the employment in the community, right? And similarly, it goes for the politician, for the alderman. Similarly, it goes for the pastor, and they who call upon who every Sunday. They call on Jesus and call upon God and call upon us. All these people are corrupted. Most of these are corrupted. They do not bow to the people, the masses of the people, to see what they need and give them and support them.
Absolutely.
If you're not gonna be in your pockets, you're not going to support you. If you're not going to follow a yes person, you're not going to support you. And that is the case. Some of these chamber councillors from federal money, and did not give one penny. Did not give one penny to black organizations and black businesses who really needed money. These are corrupt and corrupted institutions. And I have no.
Absolutely, Sekou. And this also is a result of, you have moral issues here, character issues here, but this is also a result of colonization, where you have people who are put up in leadership positions, so they will benefit, but they will not move those dollars and those interests out to the community at large, which is why our communities are looking like they're looking. or in the
Yeah,
condition that they are in. It's all a part of the colonization.
it's like the south side of Chicago. The south side of Chicago should have been the state it is. Outside of Hyde Park to be the south side, because the Hyde Park has the University of Chicago, and you have people living there, and a certain special privilege of people who has businesses there by the University of Chicago and its echelons and their friends and so on. But when you go, you leave Hyde Park and you go on to 40 something street, you go on to Woodlawn Street, and you see a whole different south side.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole different same south side, but because right the south certain parts of the south side economically equal, they don't share the dollars, so you have they are deprived, and sometimes we ourselves cause, because when we uh, do not take care of our communities, by putting money into our communities for people to own businesses in our communities. When we do not take time to build our community, right? When our communities, you pass in our community, see garbage and so on the street, buildings locked down. 75th Street, when you look at 75th Street, I was on 75th Street years, right? Frontline, right? And 75th Street had one of the last businesses, organization in the 40s and the 50s and so on. 75th Street, and the next corner of 75th Street had black businesses. It was prosperous. Why?
Right.
Nobody puts money into the 75th Street to build it back up to where communities, we are afraid of our own selves. We are afraid because we do not communities. What we do, we take our money and put it in our pockets. We take money and to help the we want to be in Hyde Park. We want to build up these communities. And when you come into these communities, the rent is high and all these different things is expensive. And plus, they do not want us in those communities because they want to show and keep us on the margin.
Right.
So, but when we have communities like Inglewood and so on, Woodlawn and so on, which we need to keep our community, uplift all the communities on the south side, because Hyde Park is also part of the south side, but because it's there, then we find it important that they're going to make Hyde Park in a different way than how they treat 75th Street, and a different way how they treat Inglewood, and how they treat Woodlawn, and so on. And that is totally wrong.
Well, I think it's like you said, always keeping us on the margin, and so many other groups of people have been able to come here to this country and flourish and build and develop, create businesses. Many of those people open up little places that weren't very nice, and now they're opening up new places and the gas stations. What's happening, it's just it's unfair, and it's what I would call, my definition of racism as a systematic oppression of a people. And this is what we're dealing with.
Well,
And this is why.
one of the
Pardon
things that
me.
we as African people have to learn to do as well is we sit together.
That's
We have to
right.
pull our resources together and stop being scared of one. When the Arab, the Palestinian comes into our community and set up store in our community, go into the white community and set up a store in the community, the Korean cannot come into the white community. They will not support him or her, right? But yet they come into our community. When we go to buy something, they follow us all around the place. Like if we go back day to day, by if you want to wear wigs and that is your thing. But you could set up our own places where we sell wigs and we could buy in in the same way, and therefore be able to compete with as them, and we don't have to go into their community and go into their stores, and when they're going to follow, like if everybody who comes into their store is a thief, right? And yet we support their stores day to day, right? And sometimes, I mean, the language here in America here is English, but these people, they act like if they don't even understand or the language of English, because they they're talking person in the store, and you can't even understand what they're saying, because they're saying, well, what time is a thief, right? And so on, and we goes back day to day and to buy their clothes, to buy whatever they have, and we do not know, well, so what? We don't have where we can fix shoes. We cannot set up laundromats in our communities where we get. When I first, there were still a few black. There were still a few black stations. Now, I don't know how many black gas stations are remaining on the south side of Chicago. And a lot of these gas stations, or most of these gas stations, if we have one black gas station in Chicago, you probably have a lot, right? Because you had so many black gas stations was here operating. Well, now you go to the same spots, and it's either Palestinian, it's either somebody from Pakistan, and so on, who running these gas stations. And so all we today, after 6 in the night, at the end of the day, they drive out and leave and put the money in a bank in a different community. So our money stays in these 24 hours, while their money stays in their community for weeks and months.
That's right.
Community cannot become rich. We cannot be enriching because they are, and we allow it.
That's right.
Nobody stick us up to go to their stores. Stick us up to go to their stores. We go to their stores. They're buying buying the product. They're gonna come and see what we're selling as black businesses. Be able to buy it in bulk in their stores, right? And we continue to support them every day. We're enriching their stores. Yet they look at us as thieves coming into their store. They follow us around every day. Black person that give you that, they could give you that testimony that when you go to these people's stores, and we continue to support them, and we continue to give them our money, right? I mean, in Black America, we in African America, right? The amount of money is probably running like number 5 what the money to the GDP of any, because the amount of money that African Americans spend in this country every day is more than what they call the fifth state in the that the amount of money that we spend, and money is not spent among us Palestinians, Indians, Chinese. And in order to I have a problem with these people, I don't have a problem with them, but I have a problem with ourselves. That is a problem I have. We're not spending and supporting our own self and building us economic power. That is a problem I have.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you, Sekou. And that's why I think our reading, as you say, when we read information, from some of our great leaders who have put what we need to know out here, then we can help change our consciousness about what we're doing. It can help change your behavior. Malcolm X, when he talked about how much he learned from reading while he was in prison, that's what changed his mind. That's what caused him to have different thoughts about things. And so That's why your bookstore and many of our other bookstores that we have here in Chicago, Underground, Afterware, Semicolon, Soulful Chicago Book Fair, Rose Cafe. I think there's Burst Into Books, the Book Joint. We have a number of bookstores here with Black literature in it, and we need to be reading these books. And that's why your work and what you're doing as an institution is so important. And so we want to continue to support you in any way that we can. And when we were doing the fundraiser for Frontline, the people came out and they purchased books from you. And that's where you got your support from the people, not from the leadership. And we worked side by side with you, calling so many people and organizations that we thought would be able to help, but it was the people. And so we have to see that power that is within ourselves. So we're past the top of the hour here, but I would like for you to let everybody know again, Sekou, where you are, when you will be open, tell about your online store, and when the next book club meeting is going to be. I think it's very important that everyone attends your book club.
Club next meeting will be on Sunday the 16th of we're going to be reading chapter 3. If you have a message that published by Tony Martin, is the same book. I have edited and republished called Lessons for African People, the Course of African People. That starts at 12 o'clock time we are in Chicago, and goes until 2 o'clock. It also 1 o'clock Eastern time, and that is if you're in New York and places like that, so then part of the 3. And if you're in the Pacific, it will probably start around p.m. and finish at about 12. And we also cater for people who in Africa, which is about 5 hours, 6 hours ahead of Chicago, London, England was ahead of Chicago. So that is basically, and we'll send a link to you in the next day or so, and so you could pass it on to your people who are online, and we always look forward to you as a founding member of the forum to be there. I know you missed the second one, but I will look in. And the address where we are now is 609 8th Street. On the opposite side is Chicago, but the side we are on is in Evanston. We are looking forward to putting some work in the next couple of weeks. To actually, this place is going to be a beautiful spot, and the website is Frontline Books. No, the website. The website is frontline.com. So if you go on the website, it's still active, and so we're looking for a website and looking and see what we are. We also getting ready to update it. To say one thing, we want to give thanks again for Denise and the organization continue to support not only Black bookstores but Black businesses, because she had been a pillar for driving me, pushing me to over the last few months. I had to give a salute, and I also had to give salute to the Black United Front. So, even when we approached them on the last day when the money was probably given out to organizations, they still stepped up and give us support and so on in a strong financial way. So we want to give much support to Carol and also Professor Bob Starks and so on. So we want to give to continue to give support to Frontline, and we say continue to support the Black bookstores where book everywhere, and all the other bookstores that are popping up online or wherever. Continue to give the support. We give thanks.
Absolutely. And thank you, Sekou. We really appreciate the work that you're doing, and we will continue to support you. When you're open, you let us know. We will definitely, people will be able to find out about what Frontline is doing and when Frontline opens on our website at rrgbc.org. And when you get the link for the next book club meeting, we will definitely advertise that as well. So you'll be going into the third chapter of
Elocution. So
okay,
that will be the third chapter. Yes,
that's going to be the third chapter. Okay,
yes.
so we definitely feel that this is a great benefit, and it's just only one of the things that Frontline is going to be doing, because Frontline, like he said, he's not just a bookstore. This is an institution, and that is still standing regardless of where you are located. And so we are very happy for your new location, and we will continue to support you. And so we want people to continue to support our organization at rrgbc.org, where you can visit our website. You can watch all of our podcasts that we have had with our businesses here in Chicago. We are over the 70 mark, and we also have a store and a donation page where you can donate. The work that we do comes from our members and donations from the community. And so you can make a donation at rrgbc.org. We are a 501c3 organization, so your donations are tax deductible. Again, we want you to subscribe to our website, where you can become a winner of our book of the month, which is the Dick Gregory's Natural Diet for Folks Who Eat Cooking with Mother Nature. This is the book that Afriware, our bookstore of the month, chose. So all you have to do is subscribe, and we will announce the winner at our last podcast of the month. So thank you for coming, and thank you, Sekou. And we want everyone to have a good night.
Thank you.